Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Bandits kidnapped no fewer than 10 students in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. Defense headquarters denies deployment of United Nations troops, insists Nigeria is not under any threat. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi says he never encouraged anyone to undermine the Nigerian state. On the foreign scene, former United States President Donald Trump has been arraigned on a criminal charge in a historic court hearing in New York. Good evening, this is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiola. No fewer than 10 students have been kidnapped by bandits in the Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, confirmed this in a statement today, where he revealed that the students were from the government secondary school, Awa. The Commissioner also explained that the exact location of the incident is yet to be confirmed, but said the detailed reports have been awaited to clarify if the abduction of the students occurred within the school premises or elsewhere. The defense headquarters has said Nigeria is not under any threat that will warrant the deployment of United Nations troops in the country. This was contained in a statement issued by the Acting Director, Defense Information, Brigadier General Chuka Gusau, today in reaction to videos on social media showing military fighting vehicles in Nigeria branded in the colors of the UN. According to the statement, the vehicles were being moved to a port from where they will join a United Nations Interim Security Force for RBM mission in southern Sudan. According to the statement, the UN does not have its own troops. Rather, it enters into agreement with troops contributing countries to provide their personnel and equipment for operations in its various missions. The management of the University of Benin has condemned the brutal murder of the final year student of the institution, Desmond Obukwo, and declared today a lecture-free day. The deceased student was said to have been killed by a gunman in one of the halls of residence. A statement issued by the Office of the Vice-Chancellor, Lydian Salami, urged students to stay peaceful as the security agencies make efforts to find the gunman and make him face the wrath of the law. The Vice-Chancellor assured the students and their parents that the security operatives within the campus will ensure such incidents do not happen again. Now to politics, members of the People's Democratic Party PDP in Rivers State continued their protest in Port Harcourt, the state capital, on Tuesday at the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) over the inspection of materials used in the last general elections. Today's protest was joined by most state assembly members, including Leader of the House, Martin Amewule, alongside the Deputy Speaker Edison Ehie and Chairman of Ikwere Local Government Area, Samuel Uwanosike. In addition to the demands for joint inspection of electoral demands and issuance of certified true copies of result sheets, the PDP is demanding the arrest of All Progressives Congress APC governorship candidate Tonia Cole for alleged murder. They are accusing Mr. Cole of leading thugs to attack them during the protest yesterday, allegedly leading to the death of one person. They said the party has submitted a petition to the Commissioner of Police.
2019 recall, it was the same Tonia Cole that shed innocent blood in Abonima. We mourned our brothers and sisters. He's not tired. He has come again yesterday and has killed one of us. Must Tonia Cole always be known for killing? No. We go agree? No. That is why from here we are moving straight to the Commissioner of Police. We have registered our petition yesterday. Today, after INEC will sleep in the communal police office. Tonyeko, who does not enjoy immunity, must be arrested and prosecuted. Yes. Not so. That's so. Will sleep in Moscow Road. Communal police must arrest him today. Yes. Because we don't know what to tell the family of the dead PDP supporter. The wife and children are crying at the hospital. Why must we continue to fold our hands and allow criminals who stole our money because they are using dogs in arms? Nigerian police must rise on the occasion if they're impartial. We are ready to die for our rights. We are ready to die enough to defend our murder. Enough is enough.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Rivers has asked political parties in the state to follow due process in inspecting materials used during the governorship election. Yesterday, supporters of the All Progressives Congress (APC) and the People's Democratic Party (PDP) clashed in Port Harcourt, the capital of Rivers, over the inspection of election materials. The altercation occurred at the INEC office in Port Harcourt, GRA. In a statement today, INEC Resident Electoral Commission in Rivers, Johnson Sinikiem, said the political parties should follow the process in inspecting the election materials. It said the commission had asked political parties and their candidates to go to its offices at the LGAs to access the materials rather than insisting that they be brought to the state headquarters. Meanwhile, Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, believes governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress (APC), Tonya Cole, is wasting his time by demanding election documents from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). Governor Wike said the APC flag bearer in the March 18th governorship election does not need to visit television stations or the INEC office because he lost the election. He said even if the governorship election is cancelled 25,000 times, Mr. Cole cannot defeat the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Siminalayi Fubara. Speaking at the commissioning of a government secondary school in Kogana local government, Governor Wike slammed Mr. Cole for visiting the INEC office in the state to demand election documents.
I want to go and collect. Let me also use the opportunity to thank the people of Gokana. No wonder you had a child that was running for governorship. You abandoned your child and supported us. And we won in this local government. Who will see this type of project given to you and follow that thing? Why will people talk about rigging? Well, how do you look at the rigging here? This is the school. Isn't that the rigging? Who will provide this kind of facility? And you will ignore the person and say you won't vote for the people. Look at it. If politicians can fulfill promises made, this country would have been better off. Have you seen where a candidate is going to INEC to collect CTC? Have you seen where a candidate will be going to INEC and want to go and collect CTC? What are your lawyers doing? What are agents doing? Those are duties of lawyers. What CTC do you want to collect? Can people see the truth of the matter? You lost the election, you lost the election. Even if you cancel the election 25,000 times in this state, you cannot win us in this state. You know, this attitude of playing to the gallery, tell people the truth. And the truth is simple. APC as a party in this state is no longer in existence. Tell them the truth.
Elsewhere, the federal government has admonished the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, against inciting people to violence over the outcome of the presidential election. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, gave the admonition in Washington, D.C. during his official engagements with some international media organizations on the just concluded 2023 polls. During the interactions with the media organizations, Mr. Mohammed said it was wrong for Mr. Obi on one breath to seek redress in court over the outcome of the polls and on another breath inciting people to violence. According to the minister, neither Mr. Obi nor the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, met the constitutional requirements to be declared as president. Meanwhile, Mr. Mohammed said the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) delayed the uploading of results to its portal due to suspected cyber attacks during the presidential poll. Mr. Mohammed said the allegation of fraud being bandied by the opposition was a result of ignorance of how the process works. In the meantime, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says he never discussed or encouraged anyone to undermine the Nigerian state. In a statement today by his media team, Mr. Obi said he is committed to due process and seeking redress in court. According to him, he has in the past days observed various campaigns of calumny directed at his person, with the latest being allegations attributed to the Information Minister, Lai Mohammed. Mr. Obi says he is committed to due process and presently seeking redress in the court. He urged those engaged in the demarketing process to stop presenting Nigeria in such bad light. The House of Representatives has condemned calls for an interim government in Nigeria after the May 29th elections. After the February 29th elections, the lawmakers fear that such calls is capable of truncating the country's young democracy and causing anarchy across the country. This followed a motion of urgent national importance raised by a member, Unyeme Idam, drawing attention of the Green Chamber to the statement issued by the Department of State Services, DSS, warning of plots to install an interim government after the outcome of the presidential election. The House, however, urged the security agencies to be on alert and warned aggrieved parties to await outcomes of litigations before the court. One lawmaker, Ademorin Kuya, accused former President Olusegun Obasanjo of culpability for calling for cancellation of the results of the presidential election. President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has since 2016 revealed plans to remove subsidy on fuel, but not much has been seen in implementing the proposition. However, last year, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the removal will be implemented by June 2023, after which President Buhari would have completed his tenure in office. In this report, Toby Sanusi chronicles the advent of subsidy in Nigeria.
The history of fuel subsidy in Nigeria can be traced back to the 1970s, when it was first introduced as a response to the oil price shock in 1973, owing to the fluctuating world oil market, after the members of the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries proclaimed an oil embargo. Fuel subsidies exist because the government contributes to reduce fuel price and fixes the price of gasoline for customers below the international price, using government resources to pay for the difference. Over the years, several attempts have been made by different government administrations to remove subsidy on fuel, but such attempts have always been greeted with strong opposition, especially from the labor unions. In year 2000, former President Olusegun Obasanjo increased fuel prices by 50% under his policy of ending subsidies on petroleum products, which is said cost government $2 billion annually, a decision that sparked protests across the country.
Anytime people become wealthy, if you don't cut back, we stop. If there's four stones here now, any of you will run away.
Fast forward to 2012, the then President Goodluck Jonathan increased fuel price from 65 naira to 141 naira in a bid to remove subsidies, but was forced to reduce it to 97 naira per litre following strike action by labor unions. Meanwhile, after President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office, he announced in 2016 that the federal government would no longer pay subsidy on oil, a decision that saw fuel price soar from 87 naira to 145 naira. In the same year, Vice President President Yemi Osinbajo said the country saved 15 trillion naira monthly from non-payment of subsidy for the year, but many have argued that Nigeria still has infrastructure and economic deficit despite saving up. Subsidy payment has over the years been attributed to non-functionality of Nigeria's refineries, out of which 2 were sold to Aliko Dangote during the Musa Yar'Adua-led administration, a situation that makes the country import petroleum products. According to reports from the Federal Ministry of Finance in 2015, 10 trillion naira was spent on subsidy between 2006 and 2013, a trajectory that has since been questioned by economic stakeholders, civil society organizations, labor unions, among others. The argument surrounding the subsidy removal revolves around the level of its cost, which may in turn lead to government spending less on capital projects, reduction in distribution of resources to state government, and growing concerns that the elites are the main beneficiaries of subsidy. President Buhari had revealed plans to remove subsidy in 2022 as part of fiscal and petroleum sector reforms, but shelved the plan amidst fears of protest in the build-up to the previously held elections.
It was a decision that was taken as a collective, recognizing the fact that due to the lingering impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and also heightened inflation, that removal of the fuel subsidy at that time will have increased more burden on the citizen, and the president does not want to contemplate a situation where measures are taken that is further going to burden the citizens. So the decision was to extend the period from June 2022 to 18 months. Beginning from January 2022. So in June 2023, we should be able to exit. The good thing is we hear a consistent message that everybody is saying this thing needs to go. It's not serving the majority of Nigerians. I listened to even some of the new leaders that are campaigning for the next round of leadership in the country that are saying they will get rid of it very, very quickly.
But just lately again, the federal government says it may begin gradual approval of petrol subsidy from this month.
We're also going to be exiting fuel subsidy by the middle of the year. So it will mean more revenue accruing to the Federation. Subsidy cost is a cost to the Federation. It eats up into the oil and gas revenue.
However, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have insisted that the removal would only be allowed provided the incoming administration of Bola Tinubu overhauls government refineries across the country. Meanwhile, the Labour Minister, Chris Ngige, has said the federal government will make provision for palliatives following the subsidy removal to cushion its effect on the masses. When this will pan out is, however, yet unclear to poor Nigerians who are the first to bear the ripple effect of removal or non-removal. While many have thrown weight behind the subsidy removal, some marketers and groups in the downstream sector of the Nigerian petroleum industry have said fuel prices may hit 750 naira per litre going forward. For Western Spring Television, Toby Sanusi reporting.
You're watching News at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come. Former United States President Donald Trump arraigned on criminal charges in a historic court hearing in New York. We'll bring you more on this when we return.
The Korean War of 1950 to 1953 pitched North and South Korea against each other in response to intrigues by nations beyond their border with different interests from those canvassed by the two brother nations. The Korean War had all the nuances of an external conflict induced by powers that were interested in subjugating North and South Korea. Japan had leveraged on its military power to annex Korea in 1900 and imposed a military union that did not sit well with the citizens. Japan not only lost its war of conquest against Korea, all its powers were obliterated by the effect of the World War II. The end of World War II got Korea divided into two nations along 38 parallel lines by the instrumentality of the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. The Korean War lapsed into a Cold War when it stopped the prying eyes of external forces into the internal affairs of a nation now divided along its north and southern territories. Western Spring Television identifies the Korean War as a major event in history. Born 16th September 1923, named Harry Lee Kwan and known as Lee Kuan Yew, he was often addressed by his initials of LKY. Lee Kuan Yew was a barrister and the first Prime Minister of Singapore between 1959 and 1990. Educated at Raffles Institution from 1936 to 1940 and the Fitzwilliam House between 1947 and 1949, Lee Kuan Yew established a highly effective and anti-corrupt governance system that midwifed the transformation of Singapore into a high net worth income economy within a generation. He never hid his exception to Western mode democratic ideal, which he believed had not assisted developing nations to attain good government. Before his death on 23rd March 2015, the People's Action Party, which he founded, had used its political influence to establish the United World College of Southeast Asia to expand his economic ideas among countries that constitute the Asian Tiger. Western Spring Television identifies Lee Kuan Yew as a major character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history.
Welcome back. This is still News at 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. Bandits kidnapped no fewer than 10 students in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. Defense headquarters denies deployment of United Nations troops, insists Nigeria is not under any threat. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi says he never encouraged anyone to undermine the Nigerian state. On the foreign scene, former United States President Donald Trump has been arraigned on criminal charges in a historic court hearing in New York. The latest move by Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke to reposition the mining sector and ensure the revalidation of the state mining licenses has generated several reactions. Olayinka Ali completes the story.
In his continuous bid to secure Russian state assets and stabilize the state economy, Governor Ademola Adeleke says he salvaged Osun mining licenses that would have been lost to alleged mismanagement by the previous administration. It is reported that Osun State has about 7 mining licenses across the solid mineral value chains. The spokesperson to Governor Ademola Adeleke, Malam Olawale Rashid, said that the licenses were almost sold off in the last days of the former Governor Adegboyega Oyetola's administration through through what appeared like a deliberate refusal to revalidate the licenses by paying required fees to the Federal Mining Licensing Body. Malam Rashidi hinted that Governor Adeleke has ramped up actions to reposition the sector and ensure the revalidation of the state mining licenses.
It's all about the effort of Governor Adeleke to reform and revive the mining sector. And this revival step has several legs. When His Excellency took over, what he did was to set up a solid mineral committee. The committee has done extensive work, and the committee has submitted a report. The committee has discovered a lot of shenanigans, a lot of corrupt practices, a lot of deceitful conduct on the part of those who manage the mining sector under former Governor Oyetola. And I want to commend Governor Adeleke, because in the statement we issued in Abuja, he was just laying out his vision of a new mining sector that will actually serve the people of Osun State. He was not attacking any personality. But the reality is that when you have things in your cupboard, you'll be scared. And what I want to say before I go further is that actually we have a solid mineral committee report that is coming up. The committee has submitted its report. A white paper is coming. A lot of corrupt practices were uncovered, and Osun lost billions of naira in unremitted revenue from the mining sector.
Reacting to the claim, media aide to the former Governor Adegboyega Oyetola, Mr. Ismail Omikpidon, described as untrue the allegations from the present administration. Mr. Omikpidon stated that contrary to the Governor Adeleke's claim, it was former Governor Oyetola who made sense of Osun's assets in the mining sector under the government's 7 project streams in its Osun Minerals Development Plan. He said but for Oyetola's administration's conscious efforts at developing the sector, Osun would have since lost all its 17 mining licenses.
The statement was actually in response to a claim by the governor of the state, making it look as if we never did anything as far as the mining sector is concerned, to the extent of alleging that we almost sold off the mining licenses. And I felt that was uncharitable, that was untrue, and a very wicked lie from the pit of the hair. As far as the mining sector is concerned, you can do your investigation. By the time we came in 2019, the state had almost lost, all the 17 mining licenses that it had.
The team lead, Urban Alert, Mr. Anthony Adejuwon, admonished the state government to have a robust mining and exploration roadmap so that all the titles can generate revenues.
Looking at the numbers of mineral titles, the mining lease, exploration license, and quarry lease owned by the state government within and outside Osun State, it's good to say that the state government has actually been running at loss, and in fact, the people of Osun State has been running at loss because they have the titles and there's nothing significant coming financially from these titles. So it's important for the Osun State government today to have a robust mining and exploration roadmap so that all these titles can bring about money, and money that will also, impact the lives of the people.
Meanwhile, gold mining operations started in the Ilesha West local government area of Osun State, Nigeria in the early 1950s. Olayinka Ali, Western Spring Television News.
President Muhammadu Buhari today received Governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, at Asa Villa, Abuja. Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Gambari, was present while Abiodun presented his certificate of return to President Buhari. Governor Abiodun was re-elected for a second term as Ogun Governor in the just concluded elections. President Muhammadu Buhari has named the newly commissioned National Counter-Terrorism Center after the Jordan King, King Abdullah bin al-Hussein. Senior Special Assistant to the President, Garba Shehu, disclosed this in a statement, adding that the Nigerian leader also had a phone conversation with al-Hussein. He stated that both leaders expressed satisfaction at the deepening of the Nigerian-Jordan strategic partnership in matters of security and other global issues. During the phone conversation, President Buhari shared Nigeria's experiences with Jordan in tackling terrorism and its spread across West Africa. According to the presidential spokesman, King Abdullah indicated his wish to visit Nigeria before President Buhari leaves office. The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, has secured a partnership with the Nigerian Bar Association for the purpose of filing civil actions against unruly drivers and their employers whose bad road use culture result in injuries and fatalities. The partnership is pursuant to concerted efforts already in place to ensure that victims of road crashes are duly compensated through established legal processes. In a statement today, the Corps spokesman, BC Kazim, said the two organizations sealed the agreement during a walk-in visit of the Corps Marshal, Dauda Biu, to the president of Nigerian Bar Association, Yakubu Mekiau, while prosecuting the driver who killed former president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Festus Iyayi. The Corps secured a memorandum of understanding with the Falana chambers aimed at prosecuting drivers and their employers. Responding to the Corps Marshal, Mr. Mekiau directed the immediate constitution of a committee saddled with the responsibility of carrying out the obligation of bringing justice to victims of road crashes. On the foreign scene, former United States President Donald Trump has been arrested and arraigned on criminal charges in a historic court hearing in New York. The former U.S. president waved towards supporters and walked into the court building alongside Secret Service agents. Mr. Trump has been charged with a crime in relation to a payment he made to a porn star, Stormy Daniels. Earlier, he railed against the process, the venue of the court, and the presiding judge, saying it is a tragic day for the Republic. Mr. Trump is running for the presidency in 2024, and a conviction would not prevent him from doing so. This report examines the legal travails of the former U.S. president.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been consulting lawyers at Trump Tower in New York City as he prepares to face history-making criminal charges. The frontrunner to be Republican nominee in 2024 will appear in court on Tuesday and is set to be formally charged, fingerprinted, and have a mugshot taken in a watershed moment ahead of next year's presidential election. He is understood to have spent Monday evening at Trump Tower consulting with legal advisors, a team that grew with the addition of Todd Blanche, a white-collar criminal defense lawyer, an ex-federal prosecutor who previously represented one-time Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Trump was indicted last week, becoming the first sitting of former president to face criminal charges over a case involving a 2016 hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. He has said he is innocent and is due to plead not guilty. On Tuesday morning, dozens of police and court officers, as well as Secret Service agents, are expected to escort Mr. Trump through the streets of New York to the Lower Manhattan Court complex. The specific charges in the indictment by a grand jury convened are due to be disclosed on Tuesday. Trump and his allies have portrayed the charges as politically motivated. Trump is set to face 34 felony counts for falsification of business records. Extra security measures are in place, with the authorities expecting protests outside the Manhattan court today. The court system is set to be collaborating with the New York City Police Department, the U.S. Secret Service, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to ensure orderly proceedings. On Monday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams warned any would-be agitators against initiating violence in response to Trump's arraignment. Adams specifically touched on the potential for Trump supporters to riot in defense of the former president.
Some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. We are the safest large city in America because we respect the rule of law in New York City. And although we have no specific threats, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is known to spread misinformation and hate speech, she stated she's coming to town. While you're in town, be on your best behavior. As always, we will not allow violence or vandalism of any kind, and if one is caught participating in any act of violence, they will be arrested and held accountable.
But the NYPD and U.S. Secret Service, through its spokesperson, declined to issue a comment on security logistics or go into detail about plans for Trump's surrender to New York authorities. The U.S. Secret Service did issue a statement saying that decisions around courtroom access and related procedures are determined by court officials. The Manhattan investigation is just one of several legal challenges concerning Trump. Trump also faces a separate criminal probe into whether he unlawfully tried to overturn his 2020 election defeat in Georgia, and 2 investigations by a special counsel, including over his handling of classified documents after leaving office. Any potential trial in the Manhattan case is still at least more than a year away, legal experts said, meaning it could occur during or after the presidential campaign. An indictment or even a conviction do not legally prevent Trump from running for president. Trump's campaign raised $7 million in the 3 days after word of the indictment emerged last Thursday, senior advisor Jason Miller said, and issued the latest in several fundraising emails, taking aim at the media's reporting of the indictment.
So President Trump is very much emboldened. He's very strong. He feels the support from all the people who are backing him. And so tomorrow on Monday, he'll be flying up to New York, of course, head down to the courthouse on Tuesday morning. And then it's going to be announced here very shortly where President Trump is going to be giving a speech on Tuesday night at Mar-a-Lago, 8:15 p.m. I think the entire world will be watching just how strong and just how fervent he is that we must continue this Make America Great Again movement, because you can't have Trump policies without President Trump. Nobody wants to go see the tribute band when the Rolling Stones are still playing. They're here for President Trump, and the Republican Party is solidly behind him. And as Jimmy pointed out, even in the general election, he has a decisive lead over Joe Biden.
Media outlets lobbied Judge Juan Marchand to allow cameras inside the court, a motion that was opposed by Mr. Trump's legal team because, as said, it would create a circus-like atmosphere at the arraignment. But on Monday night, Judge Marchand ruled that some press photographers will be allowed to take pictures for several minutes before the arraignment formally starts. The former president is expected to be released on bail and to return to his Florida home, Mar-a-Lago, on Tuesday evening, where he plans to deliver remarks at 8:15 local time. Temi Tokbe, Ajijola Oluwaola, Western Spring Television.
In Europe, Finland has joined NATO in a historic shift that brings an official end to the Nordic nations' principle of neutrality. Head of the military alliance Jens Stoltenberg hailed the move as a good day for Finland's security, for Nordic security, and for NATO as a whole. Finland applied for NATO membership a year ago in May, alongside Sweden, as fears of Russian aggression rose in northern Europe following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. But Sweden is still waiting to join the group, which now comprises 31 members. Finland's border with Russia stretches across 800 miles. Russia casts NATO enlargement as a threat to its security and has said it will respond to Finnish membership by boosting its military capacity in its western and northwestern regions.
Today, Finland will become a full member of the alliance, and that means that from today on, Finland will participate in all NATO structures, military civilian activities, and also be at the table in all NATO meetings, and also have a vote and be part of decision-making within the alliance. But of course, most importantly, what happens from today on is that Finland will be covered by NATO's ironclad security guarantees, our Article 5, that says that an attack on one ally will be regarded as an attack on all, one for all for one. Then the President is absolutely right when he says that this has been a gradual development. Finland and Sweden have many years been very close partners. Then after we invited Finland and Sweden in June last year, they got an other status, invitee status, which is a special status that actually triggered a process where we started to integrate Finland and Sweden into our military and civilian structures. But of course, it is a different thing to be close and an invitee and to be a full member, which is the case for Finland.
is preparing to launch its first ever Earth observation satellite in what has been described as a landmark achievement in the country's space exploration efforts. The satellite, called Nation 1, is scheduled to be launched next week from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The Defense Ministry and Kenya's space agency said in a joint statement that the satellite is designed to provide Earth observation data for use in agriculture, food security, and environmental management. According to the statement, Nation 1 was fully designed and developed by Kenyan engineers in collaboration with a Bulgarian aerospace manufacturer. A delegation from Kenya is expected to travel to the U.S. for the launch. Meanwhile, Egypt has opened a record-breaking mosque in its new administrative capital city, but has been widely criticized for the costs involved. The government has been building a new city in the desert to try to move people away from heavily congested Cairo, but the unveiling of the new center and mosque was criticized on social media. It comes at a time when Egypt has been fighting soaring prices, with inflation running at just over 30% in March. The mosque costs $25.9 million to build and is the second biggest mosque in Africa. State media celebrated the mosque for breaking 3 world records, including the highest pulpit in the world, standing at 54.5 feet and handcrafted from the finest types of wood. Still ahead, KPMG says Nigeria's unemployment rate will rise further to 40.6% in 2023. We have more on this and other business stories after this break. Please stay with us.
Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness and participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905. Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history.
Welcome back now to business. A total of 27 states attracted zero foreign investments in 2022 as Nigeria's capital importation dropped by 20% from the $6.7 billion recorded in 2021 to $5.3 billion in 2022. This disclosure is from Nigeria's Capital Importation Report published by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. According to the NBS, the top destinations that attracted the most investments in 2022 were Lagos State with $3.5 billion and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, with $1.62 billion. In the first quarter, only Abuja, Anambra, Katsina, Lagos, Oyo, and Plateau states attracted a total of $1.5 billion as capital importation. Meanwhile, the likes of Abia, Adamawa, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Kaduna, and Kebbi states failed to attract any foreign investments in 2022. Others also in that category are Nasarawa, Kwara, Kano, Niger, Ogun, Ondo, Osun, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, Yobe, and Zamfara states. In the meantime, KPMG says Nigeria's unemployment rate will rise further to 40.6% in 2023. In its report entitled Global Economic Outlook, the professional services firm said the figure is based on its estimates. As at fourth quarter of 2020, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, said the country's unemployment rate stood at 33.3%. KPMG projected that Nigeria's gross domestic product would continue to grow at a relatively slow pace of 3% in 2023. This, it said, is due to the slowdown in economic activity that typically characterizes periods of political transition in Nigeria. KPMG further projected that the incoming administration would face a deeply rooted, challenging environment characterized by fragile and slow economic growth and challenges in the foreign exchange market. It added that government revenue remained inadequate to support much-needed expenditure, leading to a high debt stock and high debt service payments. The Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, a United Kingdom data watchdog, has fined video sharing social media application TikTok £12.7 million for misusing children's data. This is coming a few weeks after the social media application was banned from all UK government-owned phones over security data safety concerns. The ICO today said after carrying out an investigation, the video sharing app breached the country's data protection laws. It said the breaches happened between May 2018 and July 2020. According to the office's evaluation, TikTok allowed up to 1.4 million UK children under 13 to use its platform in 2020, despite its own rules not allowing children within that age to create an account. The agency added that the UK data protection law stipulates that platforms that use personal data when offering information to children under 13 must have parental consent. UK Information Commissioner John Edwards said TikTok did not abide by the law set to protect children in the digital world.
Our investigation has found that TikTok breached a number of data protection laws, including failing to use children's personal data lawfully. UK data protection law says that organisations that use personal data when offering information society services to children under 13 must have consent from their parents or carers. TikTok failed to do that. TikTok also failed to carry out adequate checks to identify and remove underage children from its platform. As a consequence, we've estimated 1 million under 13s were inappropriately granted access to the platform, with TikTok collecting and using their personal data. That means that their personal data may have been used to track them and profile them, potentially delivering harmful, inappropriate content at their very next scroll. TikTok should have known better. TikTok should have done better. Our £12.7 million fine reflects the serious impact that their failures may have.
Now talking sports, Manchester United defender Luke Shaw has signed a new 4-year contract to keep him at the club until June 2027. The 27-year-old extended stay at Old Trafford to more than a decade after joining from Southampton in 2014. Shaw has had an excellent season under manager Erik ten Hag, making 36 appearances in all competitions, scoring once and assisting 6 times. Ten Hag said he was happy with the extension, adding that Shaw is the kind of player his team needs.
Good message. England international is doing really well this season. I'm really happy with him. I think he is he's a modern left fullback, but can play also other positions, left centre back. So he matches absolute the standards we want to have. So very good message.
Veitch has been given an 8-match ban by the Football Association after pushing referee Chris Kavanagh in their FA Cup loss to Manchester United. The Serbia striker received a 3-match ban for the sending off, 3 for violent conduct and an additional 2 for improper, abusive, insulting and threatening language. He will also receive £75,000 fine. Fulham manager Marco Silva will serve a 2-match ban after he was sent off. Silva said in a statement that he had apologized to Kavanagh and that he regrets what happened in the match on the 19th of March after he was charged with abusive behavior towards match officials. 1 game of Mitrovic's ban has already been served, meaning the forward will be unavailable until Fulham's match at Southampton on the 13th of May. Now away from football, British boxer Amir Khan has been banned for 2 years after an anti-doping test revealed the presence of a banned substance following his fight against Kell Brook in February 2022. The former light welterweight world champion tested positive for Osterine. Khan, who retired from boxing in May, accepted he broke anti-doping rules but said it was not intentional. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. No fewer than 10 students have been kidnapped by bandits in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. The defense headquarters had said Nigeria is not under any threat that will warrant the deployment of United Nations troops in the country. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says he never discussed or encouraged anyone to undermine the Nigerian state. And on the foreign scene, former United States President Donald Trump has been arrested and arraigned on criminal charges in a historic court hearing in New York. Please do follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Evelyn Ohiola. Have for yourself a nice night.